Hola clase, buenas tardes. Today we'll be talking about grammar lesson 2.4, which are numbers 31 and higher. In case you want to follow along in your textbook, these are on pages 63 a 65. So 63, pages 63 to 65. So we'll begin as usual with the PowerPoint and we'll go from here. So you already know how to count up to 30. And numbers 31 through 99 follow the same basic patterns as 21 through 29, with the exception that they don't compound. If you remember, 21, 22, 23 becomes one word. These all stay separate. All right, so we'll go through these. So please repeat after me. We'll start with 31. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. And then from here it just keeps following the same pattern of y1, y2, y3, y4, etc. Alright? So 51, 52, etc. And then we get to 60. 60. So careful here, the I goes away, like how you normally say seis, as you can see here. You just drop the I and it's 60. And then you would say 63, 64, etc. Then we get to 70, and same thing happens. You drop the I. Instead of saying siete, you say set, right? 70. So careful here, the difference between 60 and 70 is quite little. 60 versus 70. So the difference is only the S versus the T. And then we get to 80, 80. Right, that has a correlation to ocho. And then 90, we go to 90. And then lastly, for 100, we say 100 or ciento. But normally you say 100. Ciento is after 100, so when you say 101, etc. So as I already explained, E is used in most numbers from 31 to 99, unlike numbers 21 to 29, which are written as three separate words, right? Or these are written, 31 through 99 are written as three separate words. So hay 92 exámenes, hay 40 estudiantes.
Quiero mirar más.
With numbers that end in uno, so 31, 41, etc., uno becomes un before a masculine noun and una before a feminine noun. So you say, hay 31 chicos, hay 31 chicas. 100 is used before nouns and in counting. The words un, una, and uno are never used before cien in Spanish. Use cientos to say hundreds. So hay 100 libros y 100 sillas. ¿Cuántos libros hay? Cientos. Right, so hundreds for cientos. So for numbers 101 and higher, here's the chart, okay? And you'll notice that in Spanish we use a period where in English we would normally use a comma, okay? So repita clase. For 101 we say 101. And then of course you'd say 102, 103, and it would all follow the same all the way up to dos to 200, where we would say, and then it compounds, okay? 200 or 200 if it's feminine things, right? So notice that with all of these, all the way up to 900 or through 900, they have to agree with whatever it is that they're modifying. So if it's 800 women, for instance, it would be 800 mujeres. Okay, so keep that in mind. So repita, 200, 300. I'm just alternating between the masculine and feminine. 400. Now notice here, this is an irregular one. 500. 600. 700, 800, 900, and then we get to 1,000, and we just say 1000. And then going beyond there, you say 1100, and you'd say 1200, etc. for 1,200. 2000, 5000, 100,000, 200,000. Notice that the mil stays always mil. Here is a hard one, an example, 550,000. So 550,000. Then when we get to a million, we do say un here, right? So 1,000,000, and notice the accent over the O. 1,000,000. And then beyond that, 8 millones. So once you go beyond 1 million, you pluralize millón, and there's no accent. So 8 millones. All right. So notice that you should use ciento, not cien, to count over 100. So for instance, here you would say 110, 118, 150. So the 100 is used only for 100. The numbers 200 through 999 agree in gender with the nouns they modify, right? So here we have 324 pens. So we'd say 324 plumas. So I already mentioned that before, right? So the ending here agrees with the noun. Or in this example, 3,505 books, as in English and Spanish, 3,505 libros, right? So it's OS here because they're libros, masculine. So the word mil, which can mean 8,000 or 1,000, is not usually used in the plural to refer to an exact number, but it can be used as like a lot or many or thousands, right? So you can say miles, but it's more like, it's not a specific number. Cientos can also be used to express hundreds in this manner, right? So, hay miles de personas en el estadio, so thousands of people, not a specific number. Hay cientos de libros en la biblioteca, right? There are hundreds of books. So these are more just like generalized numbers. All right, almost done here. So when millón or millones is used before a noun, the word de is placed between the two. Okay, so for instance, if you were saying 1 million men, you'd say 1,000,000 de hombres, right? Or 12 million houses, 12 millones de casas. So we use that de there. And lastly, to express a complex number, including years, string together all of its components, right? Just like in English. So in English, we would say 55,422, right? So in Spanish, it's pretty similar. So 55,422, right? So 55,422. All right. Muy bien. So we have a few activities to look at. And the first one is this one. All right, so as usual, we'll go through the activity together, and I'll tell you to pause it before I give the answer so that you can think about the answer first. All right, and again, these are on pages 63 to 65 in your textbook if you want to look along. All right, so vamos a leer las instrucciones. Dice, select the correct option to complete each sentence. So we have to really think about what fits, okay? In terms of, well, we'll see in a moment. So let's look at número uno. It says, en mi clase hay blank chicas. So chicas is key here. So would we say, en mi clase hay 41 chicas, 31 chicas, 41 chicas. Pause it. And we're back. And the only answer that would work here would be 41 because it's chicas, right? So it has to agree. Una is telling us that it's feminine. Muy bien. Miremos el número 2. Hay blank mapas en la biblioteca. Here are the options. Hay 1000 mapas en la biblioteca. Hay miles mapas en la biblioteca. Hay 1001 mapas en la biblioteca. Pause. And we're back, and the only answer that makes sense here would be 1000. Right? There are 1,000 maps en la biblioteca. Exactly 1,000, right? Muy bien. Número 3. Hay blank fotografías sobre el escritorio. So here we have 3 options. Hay 259 fotografías sobre. Hay 259. Hay 251 fotografías sobre el escritorio. So this one might be a little harder. So pause and really think about it. And we're back. And the correct answer would be this one, the second one, 259. And the reason for that is because fotografías is a feminine word, right? So the 200 has to agree. So these two were almost identical with the exception that this one ends in os, 200. But remember, it has to agree when you go beyond 100. Right, so 200 because it's las fotografías. Excelente. Número 4. Aquí hay blank dólares. Right, so dólares is dollars. So would you say aquí hay miles dólares, aquí hay $1,000,000, o aquí hay 2 millones de dólares? Pause it. And we're back. And it would be this one. 2 millones de dólares. It's the only one that makes sense here. And remember, we use de after millones. Oh, I'm sorry, we use de if the noun is present. Right, so there are $2 million here. 5. Sobre la mesa hay 31 cuadernos, 31 cuadernos, o 31 cuadernos. Pause. And we're back, and the only one that works here is un. Remember that we have to drop the O before masculine noun, and this is a masculine noun, cuadernos. So, sobre la mesa hay 31 cuadernos. Muy bien. Okay, the last one for esta actividad is número 6. En la residencia hay blank estudiantes. Here are the 3 options. Hay cientos estudiantes, hay 100 estudiantes, hay miles estudiantes. Pause. And we're back. The only one that works here would be 100 estudiantes. En la residencia hay 100 estudiantes. Because you don't say cientos. Remember, when it's only 100, you say 100. You only use cientos after you go beyond 100. In fact, you only use it when you go beyond... Cientos on itself means hundreds, right? There are hundreds, but that wouldn't work in this context. And same with miles. There are thousands. You would need de after that. En la residencia hay miles de estudiantes. There are thousands. So if there were a de there, you could use cientos or miles, but there's not. So there are exactly 100 students. Okay, muy bien. We're going to do one more activity. And that is this one. This is one we're going to do some typing. Well, I'm going to do some typing, but you could also write it out. And again, if you want to follow along, which I recommend on the pages 63 to 65. Alright, so let's look at the instructions. The title is ¿Cuántos hay? Fill in the blanks with the answers to the questions using the inventory. Write complete sentences and spell out the numbers. So this is good practice on a number of things. So the modelo says, the list says libros 15. You see ¿Cuántos libros hay? You write hay 15 libros from this list of inventario, right? Well, there's not actually 15. This was just a total modelo. This was a total hypothetical, right? Because in fact we see 320. So we would write out 320. Alright, so let's go. And as usual, I'll say pause and you pause and then come back once you have your answer. So let's see. Número uno. ¿Cuántos mapas hay? And here we look up here. Pause. And we're back. So you would say hay 66 mapas. Period. Hay 66 mapas. 66. Muy bien. Número dos. ¿Cuántas mochilas hay? Okay, we look up here. Pause. And we're back. We would say hay 31 mochilas. Right? And it's una because, of course, mochilas is feminine, right? And we don't forget our period. Hay 31 mochilas. 31. ¿Cuántos diccionarios hay? So we go up here and look. Okay. Pause. And we're back. We say hay 43 diccionarios. Period. Right? 43. Muy bien. 43. ¿Cuántos cuadernos hay? Pause. And we're back. We'd say hay 276 cuadernos. Hay 276 cuadernos. 276 cuadernos. And it's 200 because cuadernos is masculine. You say los cuadernos. Alright, número 5. ¿Cuántas plumas hay? So here we see up here the answer. Okay, pause. And we're back. You'd say hay 125 plumas. Hay 125 plumas. So you notice that, remember that with 100, when we say ciento, it doesn't agree with the noun for some reason. That only happens when you get into 200, 300, etc. Right? So here you wouldn't say 125. And you also wouldn't say 25. Right? So keep that in mind. I know that's a little complicated, but you get used to it. Alright, last one. ¿Cuántos libros hay? And of course we have the answer here, so go ahead and pause. And we're back. You'd say hay 320 libros. Right? So there are 320 books. Muy bien. Muy bien, clase. Okay, so that's it for today. Gracias por mirar. And again, these are on textbooks. This lesson is on pages 63 a 65. Okay, so muy bien. Hasta la próxima.